Well, joining me now is Dong Jun. He is a sports journalist and co-founder and CEO of EI Asia. The fanfare for the Tokyo Games would be well into full swing right about now if it weren't for COVID. Games were set to get underway on July 24th. So having seen what's happened with the Tokyo Games, how is this impacting Beijing's preparations, do you think?
Well, Mike, I think Beijing's organizers are trying to stay calm, and because they thought they still have, back to the very beginning of this pandemic, there are still around 2 years to go for Beijing, but they have been very cautious and a little bit nervous because it takes so much calculation, very complex calculation of the situation, despite all the, very encouraging remarks made by various parties. But we understand that, a couple of days ago, Tokyo just announced an updated schedule and also the plans for their venues for the IOC to review and approve. But at the same time, I think Beijing's organizers of the Winter Games will be very closely following about all the sponsorship plans and how they will be carried out, because this is not only a stoppage for the Olympic family or the sports communities only, it's for everybody around the world. So you need to understand exactly what the true situations are surrounding your potential sponsors and what the sponsors' readjusted plans would be like if they had to allocate money to 2021 in the summer and then more money to 2022 early into that year to cover the Winter Olympics. And whether, for example, the aviation industry and or tourism industries who once promised to be involved in this huge event would be, have to change their mind. So this is a really complicated issue, and now so far we don't have very transparent information. I think it's up to the organizers, the IOC, and Tokyo, and everybody to do their closed-door calculations and also to do fact-checking timely and on a daily basis.
Yeah, you bring up some really interesting points there. Bach seems very upbeat, but we've heard these rumblings lately from some folks within the IOC that if the world doesn't turn the corner on the pandemic and there isn't a vaccine, they could revisit whether they go forward with the Tokyo Games, and that, of course, would have a domino effect on Beijing as well. So what's the level of concern, do you think, and how devastating would that be?
Well, I think the issue, the situation facing Tokyo would be different from that of the Beijing Winter Olympics, because we understand, although the mayor of Tokyo just won landslide, but the opposition hold the idea of against the, still going ahead with the Summer Olympics. They are against the idea. They want to cancel it, but in Beijing, it's not the issue. I think as long as the IOC agrees to go ahead, I think China is 100% ready to move forward despite all the possible changes or disruptive, alterations about it. But I think for China, the issue is a done deal. It's a sure thing. It's only about the scope or scale, and it may impact of the previous plan of motivating more people from the public to get interested in more Olympic winter sports with which they are relatively unfamiliar. It's different from those Summer Olympic sports. The Winter Games are such a new thing for China, and I think the government would try to allocate as many resources to put it together, although maybe reduce the scale. And if you look at what's going on now in China's, commercial or professional sports, this weekend the China's Super League Soccer will kick off in 2 cities instead of around the country, and that's following the National Basketball Association, Chinese Basketball Association season now reduced to 2 cities, but underway very well, of course with empty stadiums. But I think China is trying to develop and learn and adapt to figure out the right way to put together sporting events even during the pandemic, before the vaccination really develops.
Right. Thanks so much for your analysis. Great talking to you once again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.